So in this video I'm only showing you how to make the ribbed band portion for the blue slouchy beanie. First you're going to chain 10. I'll start by making a slip knot. And then I'll put my hook in the loop, snug it up a little, and I'll start my 10 chains. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 1 reads, single crochet in second chain from hook and in each remaining chain across. Then you'll turn and you should end up with 9 single crochets total. Okay, so second chain from hook, that'd be 1 and 2. So the first and the second chain, you'll go into that second chain from the hook and do a single crochet. So you insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, and then pull through both loops on your hook, and then you're going to repeat that for each chain until you have a total of 9 single crochets. So this is the second single crochet. That's 2. That's 8. And then one last one right here. And this will be number 9. So this is your first row, and you'll just sort of flip it to the other side so you can work the next row right on top of this first one. Instructions for row 2 read, chain 1, then working in the front loops only, single crochet in each single crochet across, and then you'll turn your work. Chain 1, then working in the front loops only. There's the front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop. You want to be sure to only work in the front loops. So from under up through the middle of that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops on hook. Continue to go only into the front loops of each of the stitches across. Okay, I'm going to put my last single crochet in this row. And then I'm going to turn my work so I'll be prepared for the next row. Depending on the size you're trying to make, you're going to repeat the last row until your piece measures 22 or 23.5 inches from the beginning. So again, I'm going to chain 1 and then single crochet across, working in the front loops only. Okay, the last instructions for the ribbed band are to fasten off, leaving a long tail for sewing. Use tail to sew short ends together to form band, and then you'll set it aside. Okay, here's my sample band. It's clearly not 22 inches long. I just crocheted a little bit of it so you can kind of get an idea what it's going to look like. I've come to the end of the row. Let's say you're at the end of 22 inches. You'll yarn over and pull through the entire length of yarn. So you want to break your yarn and pull it completely through. It'll keep it from unraveling. Snug that loop a little bit. And then you're going to want to get a yarn needle or a darning needle. This is the part where you'll sew the two ends of your band together to create the headband for your beanie. This is just the easiest way for me to thread a yarn needle. You can do it whichever way is comfortable for you. So these are the two ends. You can see there's a tail from where I started, and there's the ending tail, which is significantly longer. So you can kind of see how the stitches match up directly across. Your starting edge will only have one loop really, and that's okay. And I just be careful to make sure I'm matching the stitches from one side to the next. So the first stitch to the first stitch, second and second, and so on. Just your typical sewing. And you'll want to make sure that the yarn you're sewing with, the tail, is a little snug when you're pulling it through. You don't want it too tight, but you don't want it too loose as well. You'll kind of see what I mean when I get to the end of it. So here I am just trying to make sure I'm matching the stitches. So this is the last stitch. And when you kind of open it up, you can see how it's sewn together. Now this tail end, you're going to want to weave in and out of your already worked stitches to kind of hide it. You don't need to place a knot, it'll hold just fine. There's no real set way of doing it. I just make sure I hide the threads, the tail underneath the other worked yarn. I like to go a few stitches one direction and then turn around and go back the other, come back the other direction. It just seems to be a little more secure, so that I turned it around. And I kind of just came back a little bit. Again, make sure it's not too tight, but you don't want it too loose. And you'll see it's pretty invisible when you're done with it. I don't have scissors, but you would be able to snip it off at that point. I weave in the starting tail from when you first began your rows. Okay, so now that you've woven in all the loose ends, this is what your ribbed band will look like.